Good morning everyone. My name is Sanighdha and I am here today at Jagat Guru Nanak Dev Punjab State Open University Patiala, and the topic that I will be dealing with today is the Gandhian theory of justice. In today's time where we live, there are a number of conflicts, there are a number of wars, there are a number of regional issues that have been taken up by a number of countries and by a number of regions. We are today living in an era, in a sphere whereby geopolitical tensions and national and domestic issues have taken up the center stage in implementation of any kind of scheme, or in implementation of any kind of diplomatic situation, or in implementation of any kind of decision that you have taken for your own country, or for the regional bloc that you are a part of, or for any kind of international diplomatic effort that you are part of. Thereby, understanding the very term justice becomes very important today. Why? Because justice is not a static concept. As it has been told by Aristotle, as it has been told by Plato, and as it has been told by John Rawls or Amartya Sen's capability approach, justice is not a static concept. Justice is a concept that is very dynamic. Like for example, if we take the case of Indian constitutional law journey, in the initial days, we were more focused on what kind of words have been written in the constitution, and we are just concerned with the application of those words, with the application of those provisions, and with the application of only what is written in the letter. And we were not very much concerned with what the spirit of constitutional law or any kind of law holds in the eyes of justice and in the eyes of the founding members of our constitutional law. Thereby, justice, even in the kind of decisions that have been delivered by the judiciary, that have been delivered by the Supreme Court or the High Courts or the district courts, or any kind of courts that are there in India in the subordinate judiciary, that point, that understanding of justice has also evolved. Whereby earlier we were concerned on the originalist approach of constitutional interpretation, today we are concerned with the living constitutionalism approach of understanding the constitution and of delivering justice. This is the very reason that we have tried to understand what is the essence of whatever has been written in the law, or whatever has been written in the constitution, whatever has been said by our great leaders. And this is where the very issue, the very concept of Gandhian theory of justice comes into the picture. Gandhiji, as we all know, is the father of our nation. He was not only the father of our nation, but he wore many more hats, such as he was an accomplished advocate, he was a lawyer, he was a very accomplished lawyer at that point of time, and he was an anti-colonial activist, a political ethicist, he was a spiritualist at heart, he was morally upright, and he was ethically upright, along with being politically and legally upright as well. At the very outset of his career and at the very outset of his life, while he was studying in London or while he was staying in South Africa while practicing his law education degree, he faced a number of instances whereby there were hints of discrimination, whereby there were hints of racism, and whereby there were hints of biasness or prejudice or discrimination in any form that he faced. He was also thrown out of a train because of his facial features, because of his belonging to a certain place. That is the amount of discrimination that he faced in his life, and that discrimination, that impunity of justice, that non-deliverance of justice, that non-grievance redressal mechanism that were existing at that point of time, this is the reason why he gave the Gandhian theory of justice. And to be very honest with you all listeners, it must be understood that Gandhian theory of justice has its imprints all over the constitutional law of India. Now, Gandhiji gave certain principles under his Gandhian theory of justice. He not only focused on the issues of truth and non-violence, or the issues of ahimsa and satyagraha, but he also focused on the issues of ground level transformation of the very Indian society. Why? Because if there is no ground level transformation of a particular society, then the society dies. Understand it in this way. If the roots of a particular tree are cut or thrown off, then what do you think that tree will look in the next 10 to 15 days? It will look like a dead tree. It won't even be known as a tree. It would be simply called as logs or branches that are thrown apart from one place to another. That is why the grassroots level transformation of the very Indian society was so much stressed by Gandhiji that he said and that he advised to all the founding members of the Constituent Assembly that you must add these ideals while you are forming the constitution. As we all know, Gandhiji was not the part of the Constituent Assembly, or he was not the part of the debates of the Constituent Assembly, because he wanted to remain neutral in his own perspective or in his own outlook of life. And that is why he said that you take ideas from me, you take ideals from me, and then you add them in the very constitution. And today, when we stand at the very cusp of celebrating the 75 years of the Indian Constitution, the complete enactment of the Indian Constitution, today it is very pertinent to understand that in the fundamental rights, which is the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, or the DPSPs, which come under chapter 4, the part 4 of the Indian Constitution, which is known as the Directive Principles of State Policy, whereby in Article 36 it is stated that they are very important, they are very pertinent, they are quintessential actually for the governance of the very country. In those two important parts of the Indian Constitution, the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi have been added. And how beautifully have they been added? So if we take the example of Article 14, which states that every person is equal before the law and every person shall get the equal protection of laws, thereby balancing the two major concepts of equality and equity. To be very honest and to be very clear with you, equality and equity are not similar. They are not even same, they are not even similar to each other. Equality means that you see everyone with the same eyes, but equity means that you give certain differential opportunities to certain sections of the society, whereby they come to a point where they can excel in their whole life, whereby they can have a holistic development, whereby they can have an all-rounded development in the complete life that they have to live thereby. Equity deals with equitable distribution of resources, and it also deals with providing equitable opportunities to each and every section of the society without being discriminatory or prejudiced in your own outlook. Connect it with Article 15 and Article 16 and you'll find the various reasons why we have certain policies of positive discrimination in our country. Now coming on to Article 17, which says that there shall be no practice of untouchability, and untouchability has been made punishable under the Indian law, whereby we have the Civil Rights Act of 1955, under which there are a number of provisions whereby you cannot discriminate or you cannot call anybody untouchable. Now connect it with the very essence of the Indian Constitution. Indian Constitution is not, a static constitution. It's a constitution which has an essence of its own, which has a spirit of its own, and if that spirit is killed, then that constitution or that letter of the constitutional law of India dies down with it. And that is why, while giving out certain decisions in matters which relate to positive discrimination, whether it is related to disadvantageous sections of the society, whether it is related to women, whether it is related to, the children, or whether it is related to people who are a bit different from the other people in the society, the judiciary, the Supreme Court has been very proactive, and it has played its part of morally and legally and socially transforming the whole Indian society in a very, very, very good manner. And that is why when we connect these precedents, certain decisions that has been given by the judiciary, or certain issues that have been taken suo motu by the judiciary of India, by the Supreme Court of India, we can easily see the ideals of Mahatma Gandhi being depicted in that whole scenario since our very independence. And now if we connect it to the directive principles of state policy, we have Article 39A, which deals with providing free legal aid to certain people, then to all the disadvantaged sections of the society, or all the sections of the society that are eligible to gain free legal aid under that. Then we have Article 39 itself. Certain parts of Article 39 talk about equal pay for equal work. They talk about equitable distribution of resources as well. Then when we come to Article 43A, 43B, or Article 43 itself, a number of articles like this have been provided so that there can be a grassroots transformation of the society, whereby cooperative industries have been promoted, have been given prominence, have been given importance, and the very inevitability of Gandhian principles or the Gandhian theory of justice is also reflected in issues whereby there is a direction to the state that the state or the Indian government shall be very active in practicing the methods of alternative dispute resolution system, which is reflected in Article 51, or if there is a call under the DPSP to protect the very heritage and monuments of the Indian society, or if there is a call that the living standards of the people have to be up to a certain mark where they can grow in a certain way. All these examples are there in the DPSPs of the Indian constitution, which have been, provided a specific place. And why they have been provided a specific place? Because of a specific reason. Because these are the ideals of the father of a nation, and these are the ideals which need to be depicted in the welfare policies of the government of India. Now these policies have not only to be depicted in the welfare policies of the central government, but also of the state government. Now coming on to Article 40. Article 40 is a very major article in the DPSPs, which talks about the three-tier system, that is the Panchayati Raj institution system at the village level and the block level and the Zilla level. Now this system, which was introduced by the 73rd Constitutional Amendment of India in 1991, is very pertinent to understand that this is one system that takes the society from the grassroots levels and helps them to grow, helps the people who are living there to grow in a way that the whole of the country is actually growing. Simultaneously, come along with that, we have the urban local bodies, we have the municipal committees, we have the municipal corporations, which again came via the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, and then in synchronization of the same, we have Schedule 11 and Schedule 12 of the Constitution of India, which also talks about the Gandhian theory of justice. Now there are certain schemes and policies of the government of India as well which help in that. The very idea of Gandhian theory of justice is that everybody from the very grassroots level should be benefited. He doesn't talk about the greatest good of greatest number. He talks about that there should be a balance between the majority and the minority. He talks about that there should be a balance between the advantageous sections of the society and the disadvantageous sections of the society. He talks about originalism. He talks about living constitutionalism. He talks about benefits. He also talks about welfare schemes. When he talks about the static portion of the constitution, he also talks about the dynamic portion of the constitution, and he talks about the very essence of what Indian society actually stands for morally, ethically, legally, politically, culturally, traditionally, and in all the other spheres as well. And that is why today it is very important that we value the very ideals of justice, and not only justice, we value the ideals of justice as are shown to us by the very father of a nation, Shri Mahatma Gandhi. Thank you so much.